everyone, get comfortable and let me take you into today's stories. My English teacher made us promise complete silence, then gave me detention for whispering to help a classmate having a panic attack. In science class, I grabbed what I thought was my granola bar, only to realize it was my friend's peanut butter protein bar. Panic hit. I needed my EpiPen, but I'd left it at home, expecting the classroom supply to be enough. The substitute teacher, munching on her own peanuts, dismissed me, saying allergies were all in my head. My throat was already closing. She leaned against the med cabinet instead of opening it, boasting about how her parents cured her of allergies as a child. Katie ran to help, but the sub blocked her, claiming my mind was the only threat. Then she locked the door and pocketed the key, declaring no one could leave until I admitted I was faking. Someone shouted to call 911, but the sub grabbed the phones, threatening suspension. My airway tightened, minutes ticking away. Even my ex mocked me. The sub returned to my desk, crushing peanuts over it, insisting it was exposure therapy. Dust filled the air. Blood ran from my nose, lips swollen, while Katie screamed. She shoved Katie down, calling it psychosomatic. Tommy touched his neck, eyes swelling shut. Chaos erupted, backpacks emptied, kids panicked. Sarah sobbed, trying to help me. Jack yanked at the door, but the sub laughed, telling us to sit or face expulsion. The door rattled as Jack and others pounded, screaming for help. Mr. Peterson peeked in, but the sub blocked him, giving a thumbs up before shutting the blinds. Katie yelled it was kidnapping as blood dripped from my nose. Tommy clawed at his throat. Lisa vomited from panic. 2 girls huddled crying, and some froze at their desks. The sub laughed at the chaos, munching peanuts. Jack tried mouth to mouth while I choked, only for Daniel to tackle him. Arguments erupted over who knew me better. Foam bubbled at my mouth. I felt myself turning blue. Katie smashed the med cabinet. The sub grabbed her, threatening expulsion. Mike tackled the sub, but I could barely stand, crawling to reach the fire extinguisher. My body felt foreign as I swung, glass shattered. The sub yelled about vandalism. I cut my arm on the wire while fumbling the deadbolt. Mike and Katie held her back as I unlocked the door. Collapsing in the hallway, paramedics worked on me. I had been clinically dead for 3 minutes. Miss Blade was fired and banned from all schools nearby. 2 weeks later, news hit. Tommy, now partially blind from the ordeal, had taken his own life. That was when I realized firing her wasn't enough. We had to make her pay. Katie's hand squeezed mine under the desk, her eyes red, determination burning through her grief. Something hard and determined lingered in Katie's grip. The bell rang, kids filed out, but we stayed until the room emptied. She whispered that firing Miss Blade wasn't enough, and I nodded, throat too tight to speak. After class, I went straight to my hospital follow-up. The doctor scoped my throat, showing pictures of scarring and narrowing my airways by 15%. He made me practice with my new EpiPen repeatedly until I got it right, then signed my discharge. The next day at school, Mr. Peterson froze when he saw me, turning pale and fleeing. My fists clenched so tightly my nails cut my palms. That night, Katie started a group chat with everyone from class. Sarah, Mike, Jack, even Lisa joined. We needed to coordinate our stories for what was coming. My mom drove me to the police station the next morning. The officer made me repeat every detail about the locked door and 6-minute timeline, writing everything down. 2 hours later, exhausted, I left. Tommy's funeral was 3 days later in the gym. Half our class attended, half stayed away. His mother held his school photo, sobbing, and I promised Tommy I'd make Miss Blade pay. By Monday, rumors twisted the story, some claiming mass hysteria. At lunch, a girl said Tommy exaggerated his blindness. I threw my tray in the trash and walked away. Jack found me by my locker after school, apologizing for panicking and trying to give me mouth to mouth. I forgave him, though the memory made me shiver. That night, Daniel sent a rambling Instagram message, apologetic, yet insistent he knew me best and was helping. I blocked him after his last line suggesting we talk in person. The next day, the school nurse called me to review their new allergy plan. They had installed EpiPen stations in locked boxes across the building, each requiring a key only in the main office. She gave me a laminated map with locations marked, but it felt insufficient. That afternoon, an email from the district announced Miss Blade's termination and permanent ban from schools, but it barely mentioned what really happened. My 3 minutes of clinical death or Tommy going blind. My mom, reading over my shoulder, threw her phone in frustration. That evening, Katie showed up with a notebook and folder full of papers, spreading everything on my kitchen table. We documented every symptom I still had and every detail of the incident. If we were going to hold Miss Blade accountable, we needed more than just her firing. My hands still shook and I got dizzy when standing, and Katie carefully recorded it all. The next morning, Principal Barfield summoned my mom and me, insisting the situation be handled quietly to avoid unnecessary drama. My mom exploded, asking if watching her daughter die for 3 minutes counted as drama, but he insisted the school had taken appropriate action. 2 days later, Detective Darren Budrow called, assigned to investigate potential criminal charges including child endangerment and false imprisonment. He came that afternoon, recording my statement for almost 2 hours. When I mentioned the locked door, he paused, saying that legally changed everything. False imprisonment added to the list. That night, while trying to do homework, I suddenly couldn't breathe, feeling like I was back in that classroom. I found myself on the floor, crawling toward the door as my throat closed. I grabbed a notebook and recorded every detail of those 6 minutes. The peanut butter taste, the blood dripping, the cold tiles under my hands, just to get it out of my head. Katie organized a meeting at her house with anyone from our class who wanted to help, and we planned how to hold Miss Blade accountable. Our strategy had 3 goals: criminal charges to put her in jail, civil lawsuits to take her money, and making sure everyone knew what she did so she could never harm another child. Katie assigned tasks. Mike researched similar cases, Sarah collected medical records, and everyone had a role. My mom found a lawyer, Ray Bellamy, specializing in school negligence. He explained that to win, we needed to prove the school knew or should have known Miss Blade was dangerous, meaning we had to gather her employment history and any complaints. Meanwhile, I started seeing a therapist twice a week because I panicked at the smell of peanut butter or a locking door. He taught breathing exercises and reminded me that my trauma and anger were real and valid. A week later, someone from the district's legal department interviewed all of us, clearly trying to protect the school, asking leading questions about whether we misunderstood Miss Blade's lesson. Katie firmly explained that I turned blue and foamed at the mouth. What lesson could justify that? Soon after, local reporter Jasper Beckwith reached out for our story. Katie wanted to speak to him to share the truth, but our lawyer advised waiting to assess the reporter's angle first. Katie warned us that reporters sometimes twist stories, so we waited. 2 days later, I sat in Gray Bellamy's downtown office, signing a stack of papers while he explained each one, pointing to witness statements and the locked door detail as his assistant copied everything. The retainer was expensive, but he offered a payment plan after the case settled. My mom signed too, hands trembling. Gray's office walls were covered in awards and newspaper clippings, many about school negligence cases. He said having 15 eyewitnesses made our case stronger than most. 3 days later, the school held Tommy's vigil on the football field. Kids shared memories, but when a sophomore mentioned Tommy's fear of losing more sight, I had to step away, chest tight, throwing up behind the bleachers. Daniel followed, apologizing for his classroom behavior, but I reminded him I'd never forgive him for calling me dramatic while I was dying. Gray later called to say he filed official records requests with the district for Miss Blade's training certificates and incident emails, warning some documents might be missing or mishandled. Gordon B.S. from the district scheduled another interview, and Gray attended as my lawyer. Gordon tried to downplay Miss Blade, but I repeatedly mentioned the locked cabinet and Mr. Peterson walking away. Meanwhile, Jasper Beckwith interviewed students, building a timeline showing every chance adults had to prevent the tragedy. Katie said he was visibly upset hearing how terrified Tommy had been. Detective Budrow updated me on the criminal investigation, with the DA considering charges including false imprisonment and reckless child endangerment. Detective Budrow said the evidence, including 2 students with severe reactions and Tommy's death, made the case stronger than if it had just been me. At therapy, EMTT Bloom focused on my anger, helping me see that the goal wasn't revenge, but preventing Miss Blade from ever hurting another child. Gray tried to get hallway security footage showing Mr. Peterson walking away, but the school claimed it was under legal hold, which Gray said was good because it prevented deletion. He sent certified preservation letters to the district and substitute agency, forcing them to keep all records, including prior complaints. That week, a local op-ed enraged me, calling our situation moral panic and portraying Miss Blade as a victim of overprotective parents. Online comments exploded. Some demanded she go to jail. Others called us attention seekers. My mom documented the worst posts for our lawyer while my dad read them aloud. Katie's parents even had to change their number after harassment. Gray's records request revealed 2 prior complaints against Miss Blade. 3 years ago, she denied a diabetic student permission to check his blood sugar, causing him to pass out and hit his head. Last year, she refused a girl her inhaler during an asthma attack. Gray copied everything into our growing evidence pile. Then someone from our class posted a false social media claim that Miss Blade had life insurance policies on students to profit from accidents, spreading panic and misinformation. The false social media post went viral before anyone could stop it, making us look like conspiracy theorists. Katie had it taken down, but the damage was done. News outlets began questioning if we were exaggerating, forcing Gray to issue a statement clarifying we had no involvement in the post and it didn't represent our claims. 2 days later, FedEx delivered thick envelopes from Miss Blade's lawyer to our homes. The principal's insistence on keeping quiet over student safety baffled me. Was he protecting the school's reputation or something else? The cease and desist letters threatened defamation lawsuits if we spoke out, claiming emotional distress and reputational damage. My parents panicked, but Gray held an emergency meeting, explaining these were intimidation tactics. He instructed no social media posts, no talking to reporters without him, and no spreading wild theories. We set up a shared Google Drive for evidence. Mike scanned documents, Sarah managed medical records, Katie organized witness statements, and I built a detailed timeline. Seeing everything organized made the case feel real. School was harder too. Panic attacks were unmanageable. In chemistry, someone opened trail mix with nuts, and my throat tightened even without eating. The nurse activated my emergency exit plan so I could leave any class if triggered, but running out gasping for air in front of everyone was humiliating. My mom picked me up, and I missed a test. The following week at the school board meeting, Katie had prepared a 3-page statement, but was cut off after 3 minutes of public comment, leaving her mid-sentence. During the school board meeting, parents started shouting that the situation was a cover-up and that they deserved answers. One mother claimed her child had nightmares every night after being in that classroom. Security intervened, and 3 parents were escorted out, including Katie's dad, who had been filming. The board promised to take concerns under advisement, which felt like a dismissal. Shortly after, the DA's office called our parents to say they were still waiting on final medical reports before deciding on charges. They warned the process could take months, and even if Miss Blade was charged, she might get a plea deal. The system felt like it was failing us, and we mourned Tommy's death all over again. Then Jasper received an email that gave new hope. Someone who had worked with Miss Blade at a summer camp 10 years earlier reported that she had bragged about locking herself in a room with cats as a child to cure her allergy. This confirmed her dangerous beliefs were long-standing. Jasper forwarded it to Gray, and we added it to our growing evidence folder. Using all this proof, Gray officially filed a civil lawsuit against Miss Blade and the school district, seeking damages for medical costs, trauma, and Tommy's death, with his parents joining as plaintiffs. 2 days later, Katie sent a link that made me throw my phone. Miss Blade had posted a 20-minute YouTube video claiming she was the real victim. She cried fake tears, insisted she never meant to hurt anyone, and blamed cancel culture. Comments were filled with people defending her, saying kids today are too sensitive and that she was unfairly blamed for a tragedy. The next 3 hours I spent throwing up while my mom held my hair back. That Friday, the district called an emergency meeting and offered early settlements with non-disclosure agreements. The paperwork was thick with legal terms, basically paying us to stay quiet. Some parents were already signing to cover medical and therapy costs, but others yelled that this was blood money and an attempt to sweep everything under the rug. Katie's dad ripped up his offer in protest. The room split into arguments while the district lawyers quietly took notes. Then our lawyer, Gordon, dropped a folder on the table that silenced everyone. It revealed Miss Blade had skipped mandatory training on recognizing and responding to anaphylaxis 3 years ago and falsely claimed she had equivalent experience from another job. Emails showed administrators ignored warnings about her behavior, and one teacher noted she seemed to enjoy having power over students too much. Another email claimed she thought allergies were overblown by pharmaceutical companies. The district lawyers whispered and called for a recess, panicking for 2 hours. That weekend, Mr. Peterson came to my house, admitting he saw us through the window that day but trusted Miss Blade's thumbs up. He shook as he described nightmares about Tommy and regretted not opening the door, but I told him his guilt didn't undo walking away when kids were screaming. He left crying, but I felt no sympathy. The following week, the district introduced new policies. All classroom doors had to stay unlocked during instruction, and emergency EpiPens were placed in bright red unlocked boxes in every room. Principal Barfield held an assembly explaining the new rules, carefully avoiding any mention of why they were needed. It felt like a small victory, considering everything it took to get there. Kids were still having panic attacks in that classroom, but at least the system was finally forced to change. Even after the classroom was refreshed with new desks and walls, Jack started coming over after school to help me practice for depositions. We'd sit at my kitchen table while he asked questions, and I tried answering without breaking down, taking breaks when needed. We set boundaries for our complicated friendship and focused on the case first. Things stayed manageable until Daniel betrayed the group by leaking edited chat screenshots to a blogger defending Miss Blade, making us look dramatic for attention. The post spread fast, labeling us crisis actors and damaging Daniel's reputation. He faced backlash at school, and teachers treated him with disgust. In therapy, I worked on controlling my urge to confront Miss Blade directly, and learned it was safer to pursue justice through legal channels, though the impulse never fully went away, especially after nightmares. Jasper Beckwith's investigation was finally published with our real names after months of gathering every detail, including Tommy's gradual loss of sight and the note his parents discovered. Public opinion shifted as people saw the full timeline and contrasted it with Miss Blade's self-pity video and Tommy's parents joining the lawsuit. The article went viral, gaining millions of shares and even celebrity attention, while Miss Blade's supporters mostly stayed quiet except a few conspiracy theorists. That's when Gordon uncovered the crucial evidence. 5 years earlier, Miss Blade had locked students in a tornado drill at another school, claiming it was to teach discipline and respect for authority. One student had a panic attack and passed out, but the school quietly let her resign to avoid scandal, giving neutral references and ignoring the incident. The other district's HR admitted in a deposition they just wanted her gone. 2 days later, Miss Blade's supporters found us online, bombarding me with messages calling me a liar while Katie got death threats. Our lawyer made us screenshot everything and not respond. The harassment lasted weeks, with people blaming us for Tommy's death. I blocked over 40 accounts, but new ones appeared. Weeks later, I faced a 4-hour deposition where Miss Blade's lawyer tried to catch me in contradictions, but I stuck to the facts, describing crawling on the floor, blood dripping from my nose, and my throat closing up. Miss Blade sat across from me, her face turning pale as I recounted the ordeal, forcing a recess. 2 months later, the DA filed criminal charges. 2 counts of reckless child endangerment and 1 count of false imprisonment. Miss Blade appeared in a gray suit, handcuffed after pleading not guilty, and bail was set at $50,000. Seeing her in cuffs felt like our first real victory. The district offered a larger settlement covering all medical bills and 5 years of therapy, but with an NDA. Katie and I spent 3 days negotiating a carve-out to allow us to speak about allergy safety and advocate for better training. They finally agreed and added funds for a foundation in Tommy's name. The school held a mandatory assembly with a moment of silence for Tommy, but many students ignored it or whispered that we were overreacting. One student openly said Tommy was probably depressed anyway. I ran to the bathroom and threw up while Katie stayed to record. The following month, the state revoked Miss Blade's teaching certificate permanently, banning her from any position of authority over minors. She then filed a wrongful termination lawsuit against the district, claiming we were manipulative kids trying to ruin her career. I found the filing late at night and read her self-victimizing narrative, which left me in tears until EMTT stepped in, took my laptop, set up blockers, and connected me with a trauma therapist. We met lawyers one last time to finalize the settlement, which covered medical bills and therapy for years while allowing us to advocate for school safety reforms. Nothing could bring Tommy back, but we gained real change. That night, Katie started drafting a mission statement. Sarah compiled a list of school board meetings. Jack designed a logo with Tommy's initials and a medical cross, and I listed changes for emergency protocols. We officially launched Tommy's Law as a nonprofit, created social media accounts, and quickly gained thousands of followers. Our first school board presentation was in a nearby town. We shared Tommy's story, showed a video of the incident, and presented statistics and proposals for unlocked medical cabinets and staff emergency training. The board approved our reforms on the spot, and parents cried in the audience. We expanded to 12 more districts that month, each passing our safety measures, and local news coverage led to schools in other states reaching out to implement Tommy's Law. We spoke at a national education conference, and I had to step off stage twice to use my inhaler because recalling it made my chest tighten. Sarah's mom drove us everywhere, packed sandwiches, and never complained about gas. Katie tracked every school adopting our protocols, and by the third month, over 200 had. Jack arranged meetings with state legislators who began drafting laws mandating allergy training. I testified at the state capitol, EpiPen in my pocket, hands shaking the whole time. 6 months later, I double-check every food label and carry 3 EpiPens. My therapist says the nightmares will fade, though I still wake up gasping. Miss Blade's trial is next month, with criminal charges for negligence and false imprisonment. Tommy's parents sent a heartfelt letter of thanks, though his mom broke down at his memorial. The rage isn't overwhelming anymore, but it still flares at peanut butter jars or when teachers complain about overprotective parents. We couldn't bring Tommy back, but we ensured Miss Blade can never harm another child. I am 24 years old, I am Madison, and my boyfriend Logan, 26, chose his friend group over us for the first and last time. I can't take it anymore. I don't even know where to start. Logan and I have been together for over 2 years, and I thought we had something real. 6 months ago, we moved in together, split everything down the middle, handled all the household stuff together. But lately, I feel like I'm dating 5 different people instead of 1. Here's the thing. Logan has a tight-knit friend group. Ethan, Aiden, Mason, and Caleb. They unironically call themselves the Squad and literally do everything together. Group chats run 24/7, matching Halloween costumes, planning trips together. Everything without exception. At first, I thought it was cute that he had such close friends. Now I'm not even sure if we're in a relationship or if I'm just a girlfriend who pays part of the bills. The breaking point happened last weekend. Our 2-year anniversary was coming up, and I planned a whole evening. Booked the restaurant where we had our first real date, got tickets to see a band he's obsessed with. Nothing too expensive, but thoughtful details. I found him in the living room, scrolling through Instagram, watching his friends' weekend adventures. "Hey Logan, I planned something special for our anniversary next Saturday," I said, sitting next to him. He looked up from his phone, and I swear his face looked like I said something terrible happened. "Oh." He slowly put down his phone. "Oh, babe, that's the same night as Ethan's birthday pregame." You know I can't miss it. I felt my heart sink a little, but tried to stay reasonable. "What if you asked them to move it to Friday or Sunday?" He was already shaking his head before I finished. "No, you don't understand. Ethan specifically planned it for Saturday because it's literally the only night everyone can make it. Aiden has a big work conference starting Sunday. Mason is so stressed with his new job that he really needs this. And Caleb just broke up with his girlfriend, so we need support now too." I watched his face as he spoke. He was getting more animated, like he was warming up to his argument. "We all need this night, Madison. The group hasn't properly been together in weeks. But it's our anniversary, I said quietly, hating how soft my voice sounded. This only happens once a year. You can see your friends anytime. That's when his demeanor changed. He leaned back, crossed his arms, and looked at me like I was completely unreasonable. Love can wait, but friendship can't. They were here before you, and they'll be here after. I just stared at him. The words hit me like a physical blow. They'll be here after. Not if something happens to us, God forbid we ever break up, but like a casual, matter-of-fact after. Like our breakup was already penciled into his calendar between next month's group trip and Ethan's birthday party. After everything we've built together, I still seem like a temporary detail that can be moved around for his weekend plans. And this isn't the first time. My master's graduation. He went to Aiden's housewarming instead of being with me. My brother's wedding last month. He was too exhausted from a 3-day festival with the squad to come with me. Even when my mom was in the hospital for surgery, Logan couldn't visit because it conflicted with their weekly game night. But he expects me to drop everything when he needs something. Last month, he called me at 2 a.m. to pick him up from some dive bar across town because Caleb was too drunk to drive safely. When I got there, Logan barely acknowledged me, just kept taking selfies with everyone, and then spent the whole ride home talking about drama between Ethan and some guy from the bar. The worst part is how he talks about our relationship in front of his friends. Last week, I overheard him on the phone with Ethan, saying I'm going through a jealous phase and need to learn to share his time better. Like I'm some insecure teenager instead of his partner who wants to feel like a priority sometimes. I tried talking to him about balance, about how relationships need attention too. He always promises to do better, then immediately makes plans that don't include me. When I point out the pattern, he accuses me of trying to isolate him from his friends. There's no winning. I'm writing this from a coffee shop because I can't stand being in our apartment anymore. I spent the whole morning looking at apartments online. I found a decent one-bedroom about 20 minutes away that I can rent on my own. The lease application is sitting in my email drafts. I love him, but I can't keep being sixth in my own relationship. My friends say I should give him an ultimatum, but honestly, I'm tired of begging someone to want to spend time with me. Is it too much to ask that your boyfriend actually sometimes wants to be with you? I moved yesterday. Packing my things while Logan was at work, I felt both anxious and relieved at the same time. He kept calling me nonstop, left about 12 voicemail messages, texting that he couldn't believe I did this without talking to him first. I didn't respond. The feeling of relief mixed with guilt. Relief because I no longer have to feel invisible in my own home. Guilt because part of me still loves him. But I keep thinking of all the times he chose his friends over me, and the anger rises again. His friends also started texting me. Ethan first, trying to make me feel guilty so I would come back. Aiden sent a long voice message saying, "Relationships are about compromise." And Caleb just sent memes trying to lighten the mood. Mason hasn't reached out yet, probably busy with his own stuff. It's exhausting. Last night, Logan showed up at my new apartment. I didn't open the door. He left a note taped to the door in beautiful handwriting. "Please talk. I love you and I miss you. It can't be that we end everything like this." My heart clenched when I saw it, but I clearly understood. If he really loved me, he would have chosen me at least once over his friends. I left the note and went to bed. I told one of my closest friends everything. She said, "Madison, he won't change. You deserve to be someone's priority, not after friends." It hit hard, but she was right. I can't keep hoping he will realize my importance. I need someone who already knows that. Today, I checked my phone. Logan posted a group selfie with all his friends captioned, "Squad back together, nothing can stop us." Of course, no mention of me. The world goes on for them, and I'm just on the sidelines. It hurts in my chest, but I feel clarity like never before. I'm starting to rebuild my life. Signed up for the gym, planning a solo trip next month, finally called a few old friends I hadn't seen in years. I feel lighter. I'm finally starting to let go. He texted me tonight. "I see you're really moving on." No apology, no acknowledgement of the pain he caused. Just observation. I didn't reply. I feel like I can breathe again. To anyone reading this stuck in a similar situation, if your partner constantly puts everyone else above you, that's not love. Love comes. Love chooses. Don't let anyone make you feel like begging for attention is normal. I still sometimes feel sad, but mostly I'm proud of myself. I'm proud because I finally stood on my own and realized I deserve someone who wants to be fully with me. I'm proud that I took the first step to reclaim my life. I don't know what the future holds, but I know I'm finally acting on my own terms. He tried calling again tonight. I let it ring. I don't even feel like answering. It's strange how freeing it is to stop worrying whether he notices you. I can focus on myself. I accepted it. There will always be memories, of course. Some good, some bittersweet. But they are mine. They no longer have to hurt. He had the chance to show I mattered. He didn't. And that's okay. Because I matter, and I finally see it clearly. Life goes on. I sleep better, eat better, laugh more. I'm starting to look forward to events again. It's a slow process, but I'm moving forward. And honestly, it feels amazing. This is probably my last post about this whole situation. But I want to share how everything ended since many of you were following the story. Messages from Logan continued for about a week after my last update. Nothing aggressive or manipulative, he was rather trying to find the right words to get me to respond. I finally understood what he meant about balance. Now I see it clearly. The group is no longer the same. I think I used everyone to avoid real closeness. I miss talking with him. Not even about getting back together, just the conversation. The last one almost knocked me off my feet. Earlier, we really had great conversations, especially at the beginning of our relationship. But I reminded myself that a good conversation doesn't mean a good partnership, and I stayed silent. Everything came to a climax last Tuesday. I was having dinner with my friend Alex at a small Italian restaurant downtown when I noticed a familiar group at a corner table: Logan, Mason, and Caleb. Aiden and Ethan were noticeably absent. It turned out Aiden was at an event with his fiancée, and Ethan was already in Portland, setting up a new life. Logan noticed me before I could suggest leaving. Our eyes met across the restaurant, and I saw him hesitate whether to approach. Alex noticed my tension and asked if I was okay. I briefly explained the situation. He knew my ex was trying to reach out, but not the whole drama. To his credit, Logan did not make a scene. He just waved at me and then seemed to chat happily with Mason and Caleb. I thought that was it. But as Alex and I were leaving, Logan approached us near the exit. "Madison, hi, I don't want to interrupt your evening, but can we talk for a minute?" Alex squeezed my hand and said he would wait by the car. This was probably the smoothest way to meet with an ex-partner. Logan looked different. Maybe tired or just older. He started speaking quickly, as if he had rehearsed his words. "I know you're not responding to my messages, and I understand why. I just wanted to say that you were right about everything. About balance, about priorities, about what real relationships should be like. I see Aiden with Emma and watch how they support each other, and I realize I never did that with you. I said I appreciated his words, but it changes nothing between us. I'm not asking for another chance. I just needed you to know that I now understand. And I'm sorry, truly sorry for how I acted and how I reacted when you left." This was the first time he apologized without any conditions or excuses. He looked at Alex in the parking lot and smiled sadly. He seems like a good person. I hope he appreciates what he has. And that's it. He went back to his table. I went to the car and Alex asked if I was okay. I realized that actually I was okay. The ironic epilogue of all this. I learned through Jake that the squad had actually fallen apart. Aiden is fully committed to his new life with Emma and barely communicates with the group. Ethan loves Portland and found friends through work. Mason and Caleb are together now, but seem to want distance from the group dynamic that complicated their lives so much. Logan tries to keep the group together, planning events and sending nostalgic messages about good times. But you can't make people stay in a dynamic they've outgrown. He is learning what I tried to explain to him for months, that relationships, all relationships, require mutual effort and understanding. When people feel they cannot be authentic or grow, they leave. As for me and Alex, everything is going well. He met a few of my friends last weekend and it was easy. No one felt like they had to prove anything or compete for attention, just adults interacting and getting to know each other. He says maybe we'll go on a weekend trip together next month, just the two of us. The fact that this feels normal and exciting, not selfish or threatening, tells me everything I need to know about the difference between healthy and unhealthy relationship patterns. I don't wish anything bad for Logan. I hope he learns how to build connections without sacrificing other important relationships. But I'm glad I had the courage to leave when I did. Sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is refuse to accept yourself as an option. Thanks to everyone for the support throughout this saga. Reddit. Time to finally close this chapter and focus on a new one.